Okay, so a concentration problem. So what we're going to have is a solution at a certain concentration. It's going to be mixed with another solution of a different concentration, and we're trying to find how much to add so we get a certain percent concentration. And you may have done problems like this a different way in other algebra classes, but here's the problem. It says the function c equals, and then it has 20 plus 0.4 n divided by 100 plus n, represents the concentration C of an acid solution after n milliliters of a 40% solution has been added to 100 milliliters of a 20% solution. All of that, the 40%, the 100, the 20%, all of that's in the formula, okay? They're just telling you where it came from, and you can think about that later, but I'm just going to say, hey, there's my formula. It says first find the inverse of the function. That is, find an expression of n in terms of c. Okay, so let me rewrite this. C equals 20 plus 0.4 n over 100 plus n. Okay, I'm going to treat it like a proportion and cross multiply. So I have c times 100 plus n equals 1 times 20 plus 0.4n. Now this problem brings up a really interesting concept. So if I distribute here, I get 100c plus cn. And on the other side, I just have 20 plus 0.4n. Now the trick is to remember what you're solving for. You're trying to find an expression for n in terms of c. So I want to get n by itself. So I'm going to put n on the left, so Cn minus 0.4n, and then I'm going to put the other stuff on the right, 20 minus 100c. So what I'm doing is I'm subtracting the 100c from both sides, and I'm subtracting the 0.4n from both sides. I didn't write all that, but now I did. Okay, so hopefully you can see where that comes from. The reason you do that is you're trying to get n by itself, and you'll notice you have n in two places, and you can only have one n. You've got to have n equals something. You can have more than one c, but you just have to have n by itself. Okay, and then the way to do that now is we're going to factor out n. So on the left, we'll have n times c minus 0.4 equals 20 minus 100 c. Now you might back up here, you might say, well, I was going to get n on the right side. That would have been fine. I just chose to do it on the left. Okay, so now I'm going to divide by c minus 0.4 on both sides. I don't really need the parentheses. I do when I'm going to put it in my calculator. Okay, so I got n by itself. N equals 20 minus 100c divided by c minus 0.4. And then they have to tell me c so I can find n. It says, then use your result. Okay, so we did it. We got n by itself. Use your result to determine how much of the 40% solution should be added so that the final mixture is 35%. So we want the concentration to be C. Now, you might be a little confused because why does it say 40% solution? Remember, that's what n represents. N is representing how much of the 40% solution. But we want our concentration to be C. So we're going to write n equals 20 minus 100 times 0.35. You have to change that percent. It was 35%. And you need to change that to a decimal. And then that's going to be divided by C, oops, no, we know what C is. C was 0.35 minus 0.4. Now, you could do some of this by hand. I'm going to go ahead and just use my calculator. It wouldn't be bad to do this by hand, but when I put it in my calculator, though, I need to make sure I put in those extra parentheses. So otherwise, it won't follow the order of operations the way I want it to. So parenthesis 20 minus 100 times 0.35, which really we know what that is, but you know, it's okay. let's see, divided by parenthesis 0.35 minus 0.4, and what do I get? 300? So I'm getting n equals 300, and that was in milliliters. Now, just because I'm old school, I'm just going to do it by hand. 20 minus 35, and this is going to be 0, let's see, it's going to be negative 0.05. So it's going to be negative 15 divided by negative 0.05. Now, if you want to know how to get around that easily, if you multiply by 100 to clear the decimal, you're allowed to multiply by whatever you want. Then you get 1500 over 5, and that's going to be 300. The two negatives made it positive. So anyway, I was just double checking it by hand. Okay, there we go.